Namaskar, Nilesh Oak here. Okay, so this is the evidence that is coming from the east coast of India, the southern part of India, state of Tamil Nadu, and the area just south of Chidambaram. Okay, all right. This is the paper that came out in August of 2020. Not everything that Professor Somasundar Ramaswamy has discussed in his recent presentation is there, at least in explicit details, in the paper that was published in Current Science in the August of 2020. So I would encourage all of you to watch his presentation. All right. So the slide that you are seeing, or the picture that you're seeing on the left side, is taken from his presentation. And instead of walking you through this presentation, I am going to walk you through uh, something that I created, but also some of the screenshots I took from his presentation. All right. Remember, the sea level is rising since the last glacial maximum. Let's put a limit of 20,000 years ago, just for simplicity. So since then, the water levels are slowly rising. What uh, Professor Ramaswamy and his team found through this remote sensing research that they conducted, that current location of Pumpar is right here, but they have found structures like harbor-like structures, port-like structures inside the ocean where it is currently nothing but water. And so they have found actually multiple phases. Okay, so the first phase is P1 here, and that goes back to a time before um 16,000 years. Okay, or what is the best way to put it? Let's say that goes back to the timing of the LGM, okay, the last glacial maximum. As the sea level started rising, some point, and you are not going to get exactly pinpointed date, you may get the date, but right now it's not available. Sometime what they're saying is between 16,000 BCE to 8,000 BCE. They're defining this as a very broad period. That earliest known port, we can say, okay, which is now inside the ocean, was flooded by the seawater. Okay, that's that P1 that you are seeing here. Okay, and you can notice the very characteristic shape of the port. Okay, and you will find those are very consistent as they moved the port. And in fact, in his presentation, he mentions that all the ports around the world, okay, the ancient ports, you can say, such as on the west coast like Lothal and whatnot, or even if you go to Arabian Sea, or if you go to Mediterranean, it appears that all these ancient ports have a similar structure, but that's a different point and not related to our flooding and destruction of Dwarka that we are discussing. Okay, so the remotest port at Pumpar was flooded sometime between 16,000 to 8,000 BCE. All right. Now what happens? Then the second surge comes, and it's not a surge, the water is continuously rising. Okay, so sometime between 8,000 BC and 7,000 BC by their estimates, the second port, okay, so whoever was there, they had moved the port towards the land because ocean had taken over the initial port. So this second port, P2, was also flooded by rising sea waters. That happened sometime between 8,000 BC and 7,000 BC. Okay, you go further, just a little further time, and you're going to see that P3, that the P3rd port, which is now underwater, was also flooded. But when that happened, something else happened. And therefore, what I have done here is brought this map of this portion of Tamil Nadu. So what we are seeing here is that Nangur is the place here, okay, then Sri Kali is the place here, Pumpar, the current Pumpar is here, okay? And I may not be saying the name right, but forgive me for that. And notice this place, it's goes by the name now, if I can say it right, Mailaduturai, okay? In the old times, or even actually even now, it is also known by the name Mayuram, okay? Now, why is this important? Look what happens sometime between 6000 BCE and 4000 BCE, okay? Now, this time it wasn't the smooth rising of the sea levels, but there was a sudden sea transgression, okay, that brought the waters of the ocean way deep inside the land. Now, that flooded the Pumpuhar port number 3 that I just briefly showed you before. But it didn't just stop with flooding that area. The water came gushing in all the way, transgression into the land, all the way to this place called Mayuram. Okay. And when did this happen? It happened sometime between 6000 BCE to 4000 BCE. Now, go back what I showed you in the first part. What is the evidence that is showing us on the west coast of India, west coast of Dwarka, the Arabian Sea? A sudden sea level rise of 15 meters in 6th millennium BC, and sudden sea level rise of seawater continuing into the 5th millennium BCE of another 8 meters, the total of 23 meters. Just like that happened on the west coast, here we are seeing, we don't have exact height, actually it is there in their paper approximately, but a transgression of seawater all the way to Mayapuram. Now keep that in mind. How much impact a specific catastrophic rise event will have to a specific area depends on many other factors besides the sea level, because there is that subsidence of the land, okay, the land structure, how land responds to the seawater transgression, and so on. But it's very consistent that the effects are uh, timed together, okay, that's what is happening. And this of course matches with the flooding and destruction of Dwarka. But something else that you're going to see, all right, it so these are just the places. Now what happened, fast forward a little bit, okay, so this is actually showing the same picture, that gushing of water. So the port number 3 between 6000 BC and 4000 BC, so that was flooded, that was gone. However, unlike the previous two instances when P1 and P2 went under the water, this time there was a significant sea transgression. So not only that port was gone, but actually the water continued and went all the way to this Mayuram. I might have said it wrong name before, Mayuram, okay? And so this is that boundary. And the reason it's saying 6000 years BP or 4000 BC is that kind of until that point, it was definitely there. And then it started regressing, okay? It started receding backwards. I'm going to show you in the next page. So what Professor Ramasamy informs us is that essentially what would have happened is that between this time, the Mayuram would have acted as a seaport, so to say, okay? All right, let's see what happens as we go ahead in time. Okay, so this is what happened between 6000 BC to 4000 BC, as I said. Now, the water started receding, the seawater started receding, and between the 4000 BC to 3000 BC, it moved from the westward from Mayuram and towards the east, of course, now to Sirkali or Sirkazi. Like in his presentation, he says Sirkazi. On the map, I see that as a Sirkali. Okay, so now water is receding, okay, and going back towards the ocean. Okay, let's go further. This is just that graph. So what has happened is, instead of Mayuram being a port, which was the case between 6000 BC and 4000 BCE, now as we move towards 4000 BC to 3000 BC, the seawater is receding. Now you can think of this Sirkazi or Sirkali acting as a port. Okay, so from there, these arrows are referring to navigation beginning from that point of view. Or these are like, think of this as a temporary location for the Pumpuhar port. All right, if that helps. All right, so water has gone all the way to Mayoram. Now it has receded back to Shirkazi by 3000 BC. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm going to show you. So that's what it shows. Now as we go further between 3000 BC to 2000 BC, the water receded further from Sirkali or Sirkazi to Nangur. Okay, that's what it is showing. And then eventually it came to today's location, okay, sometime by 500 BC, in last 2000 years. All right, so that's what is shown here. So 3000 BC to 2000 BC, that you can see from like Sirkazi to Nangur, and then from 2000 BC to 500 BC, from this Nangur here to current location of Pumpuhar, what we call Pumpuhar, and the port, uh, by last two, sometime by the last 2000 years. Okay, so 500 BC is what the date they have given, but you can just take approximately as 2000 years. Okay, all right, so this is just a quick summary of what happened. And if you again recall the graph that I showed you for sea level rise, sudden sea level rise of 15 meters in 6 millennium BC, additional 8 meters in 5th millennium BC, then the water stayed there essentially. However, we can also see the evidence of receding sea levels, and definitely after 2000 BC, a drastic sea level reduction, and then going through some perturbation coming to where it is today. Now, this is for the west coast of India. This is for the entire Arabic region, okay, but you can see exactly same phenomenon repeating on the east coast of India with the exactly the same time. Okay, now this has lot of implications beyond Mahabharata times, beyond flooding and destruction of Dwarka, but we are going to limit ourselves to that for now. So it's a very impressive corroborative evidence for the flooding and destruction of Dwarka in 5525 BCE. This is very strong evidence that falsifies many claims that you will see in the public domain, you will see in the social media. You might see these people publishing books or papers or whatnot. There are good number of claims claiming that Ramayana happened in 6 millennium BC, something like a 5000 BC, whatever that number. And sometimes even you will see 4000 BC numbers. What this evidence is showing you is that this evidence decisively falsifies Ramayana happening in 6 millennium BC or in 5th millennium BCE. Okay, so it has a significant implications for Ramayana, but I'm not going to go into the details, at least not in this video. So if we have to summarize it, we can say that there is a significant, very rich, empirical, objectively testable evidence inside the Mahabharata text that takes us to 6th millennium BC for the year of Mahabharata war, specifically 5561 BC as the year of Mahabharata war. We take another evidence from the Mahabharata text that says that Dwarka was flooded and destroyed 36 years after the Mahabharata war. If we do add that number to 5561 BC, we arrive at 5525 BC as the year of flooding and destruction of Dwarka. Okay, so essentially we made use of the astronomy evidence plus the narrative evidence for flooding and destruction of Dwarka from Mahabharata. You will find that evidence repeated, sometimes not accurately, but most cases reasonably accurately, even in Puranas. So that gave us that 5525 BC. Then we looked at, in the first part, sudden sea level rise in the Caribbean, at least studied in 7 different locations. That was 6.5 plus minus 2.5 meters sudden rise around 5600 BC plus minus 130 years, and note down 5525 BC falls right into that interval. We looked at another evidence from the Turkey, like the border of Europe and Asia, where the formation of a Black Sea, it occurred suddenly from turning from a sweet lake to a salty sea, and a huge salty sea. And again, the timing can be shown with the help of 9 specific empirical indicators. This is the work of Ryan and Pittman from Columbia University, leading us to 5550 BCE plus minus 50 years. It's a very impressive work with a very small standard error. Okay, again 55-25 falls in that time bracket. The third evidence we looked at, right where the Dwarka is, or where Krishna's Dwarka was, which is now inside the ocean. And I forgot to mention in the first part, and maybe we'll do it some other time. But based on my study, based on my uh, study of the evidence coming from various streams of sciences, if we are looking for Krishna's Dwarka, or if you want to look for Krishna's Dwarka, right from Somnath, or there is a place called Mula Dwarka just south of Somnath, we have to go inside the ocean in the southwest direction for 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers. Okay, these are estimates, but that's how far inside we have to go if we are truly interested in looking at Krishna's Dwarka. This is just based on my research of last few years. Okay, now what does the evidence shows? In the Arabian Sea or a Sindhu Sagar, there was this sudden increase in sea levels. We saw that. Okay, and then also the receding of the level, and then finally this new evidence, very recent, hot from the press. Okay, that also shows sudden sea transgression during the 6000 BCE through 4000 BCE. I don't know how they did the dating. In future they may come up with a more accurate and precise dating, and it will be very interesting to see what they find. But even as is, it's so impressive, and it perfectly corroborates 5525 BC. And they also saw on the east coast sudden sea transgression followed by receding of sea levels in batches, in in cycles. Okay, coming down to where the current sea level and sea and land border is. Okay, so that's all I have to say quickly. The book, actually, well, because this evidence has implications for both Ramayana and Mahabharata, I would say all the three books of mine which are already published have a relevance for this evidence. Okay, so they come together. Okay, these are the way you will see the cover pages. If you are in India and you want to take it, buy it from online, you can buy it from Subbu Publications. Okay, now if you are outside India, then this is how the covers would look like. And also one book has a different title. The content is identical. The Historic Rama is exactly the same book as the book with the title 12,209 BC within India. Same content, okay, just a different title. And if you're outside India, you will see these covers, these books from Amazon. So with that, I'm going to stop, and please write down your comments. Please share this channel, because I'm finding with a lot of my time spent on many different projects, not just research, but writing textbooks, working on certain initiatives, working with creating very effective, slick, entertaining, educational documentaries. My time is getting sandwiched in terms of where it can be spent, and therefore I have decided that instead of responding to people individually through emails, through social media handles, right now I do it a little bit. That will stop very soon, and my only way to communicate to you will be through these YouTube videos, of course through books and blogs and whatnot. But as far as the question and answer goes, I'm not going to respond to individuals in social media. It's not very efficient. Many times, many people who ask the question, either because they don't know of my work, they have not read what I have already written, or they have not watched my videos, or they have not read my blogs. But then there are many others. I mean, I will call them the frequently those people who contact me, and they refuse to read, they refuse to watch the video, they refuse to do the tapasya, and they refuse to do the swadhyaya. I'm not interested in responding to their questions. Okay, so that's going to stop. And therefore, if you are interested, please continue to read the books, continue to watch the YouTube videos. I mean, not on just this channel, but I created this channel so that I have the flexibility and the freedom to bring out cutting edge research as it comes out, either because of my own effort, because of the efforts of my co-researchers, or because of the efforts of other researchers in the format I would like to bring out. Because many times what happens, and I will continue to participate in other platforms, but the platform holders there, they may have a different area in mind, different interest, a different level of detail that they want to go, which may not match with what I would like to convey to those who are interested in ancient Indian history. And that is why I have taken more interest in bringing something through this channel. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And please share this channel with others, subscribe, and all the standard stuff that is right, that is essentially right thing to do. So I will say, do the right thing. Namaskar.